Welcome back to another Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. vlog. Sorry if I haven't done these in a while, but I've been busy with life. Anyway, I'm back, and as always, I'm going to do the traditional. I'm going to talk about the premiere, and then I'm going to come back, talk about how I felt about it the first half, then talk about the second overall. Now, before that, I just quickly want to talk about what I felt about the end of Season 2. Since I was going to talk about it, but I didn't. I'm sorry if I didn't. I just got really busy with life and forgot, and... No, what happened was Daredevil happened, and it just completely overshadowed Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I was like, yeah. But thankfully, I'm smart, and I type up... I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I do type up notes, which I read off of on the computer. I know I cheat, but anyway. But thankfully, I typed some of those up. So, I'm just going to quickly... And these help recall my... So... I'm just going to quickly say what I thought of Season 2 at the time it ended. I mean, as right now, it really didn't stick with me much. I kind of really didn't care about it or remember. But let's see what I thought. So, I was happy with, like, the last few episodes of Season 2. I felt like we were finally getting somewhere. It answered a lot of questions about Daisy, S.H.I.E.L.D., the Inhumans. It took a little... It was a little... The second half started off a little slow, and it felt a little frozen. You, Sky, controlling their powers, and the whole conceal, don't feel thing. But, I mean, it got really good once the other S.H.I.E.L.D., which I thought was an interesting faction, took over. And that final season felt like a game changer. But even though, by S.H.I.E.L.D. standards, it was an improvement, I still didn't care. I thought the dialogue, there was so much cliche dialogue, I couldn't even count it. I had to keep... The test of a good episode is, do you still remember it? Like, when you come back a week later and watch it, have you still been thinking about it, or has it left your mind? Do you need to take, like, a good minute to recall what happened, even if something dramatic happened? Like, if something dramatic happens and you need to take that moment to recall it, which I'm currently experiencing every time I go back to Fear the Walking Dead, and it also happened a bit during Season 2 trajectory, the show's failed. Like, Breaking Bad, it's been a while since I saw the last episode of. I'm currently in the middle of Season 2, in case anyone's wondering, but... I still remember what happened in Season 2, the last episode. Yeah, these episodes were forgettable. The powers were goofy and CGI, and then Daredevil came along and showed how to do a good one. And after Season 2, I just felt done with the show. I said I'd keep watching, but I didn't care about it as much. I'm far more interested in what's going on with the Daredevil. So, that was what I thought of the Season 2 premiere, and a lot of it stuff I wrote. And it clearly shows that the finale didn't have much of an impact on me because there were a couple things in the Season 2 premiere that I honestly didn't care for. Premiere that I didn't care for, but I had forgotten about. Like, I completely forgot that Coulson lost his hand. Like, that's a huge deal. He lost his freaking hand! And the fact that I didn't remember that clearly shows how effective that was. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was big stuff that happened. Like, I remembered Simmons disappearing because that was like the huge thing, and also they were about to ship them. But the fact that I completely forgot about someone losing their fucking hand. And then there's Zach, who it took me 5 minutes to remember who he was, and again, I mean, thankfully the show did a good job at reminding me. But yeah, I mean, let me start at the beginning. So, despite everything about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I thought the opening was really good. It threw us into the middle of something. We had a believable reaction of someone discovering his human powers. It grabbed the attention. It's just thrown the show's showing off its budget. Like, I love the ship coming down and the new helicarrier. Like, it feels like the show is throwing a bit more budget and the effects look a little less goofy. With the exception of that one blue spiky Inhuman who feels a little cartoony. But it's really good. I mean, we get a sense of where everyone's at. Like, the show's going to be about finding the new and dealing with the Inhuman crisis. And it's interesting. Like, I feel like the latter half of the previous season and the first half of the current season have more to do with each other. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if, like, we segue into something else. Like, I mean, this show keeps changing what it is so much, but yeah. I mean, anyway. So yeah, and we're saying the word Inhuman. This Inhuman storyline seems a lot like the X-Men storyline from the first X-Men film about mutants, and they're dangerous, and oh my gosh, I have all these powers, what do I do? Come to my school of gifted youngsters, although that doesn't exist at S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm curious if the guy we got recruited, if he's going to be a reoccurring character, and if he's going to evolve into someone like Deathlock. Again, I haven't read that many Inhuman comics, so I don't know where they're going. But yeah, AV Club kind of touched on an interesting point, which is that the show kind of lost some steam after the opening. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some cool stuff, like I'm interested about the new faction, and I did enjoy the subway banter. But, I mean, ultimately, when it all's said and done, I mean, while this was a really good kickoff, like, I'm sort of back to that point where I'm amused by the show, but I'm not really caring. Like, it's typical S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff, like, and it seems especially a bit more problematic this time around because, I mean, while we finally have a team that feels like a S.H.I.E.L.D. team, there are so many characters and plotlines, I feel like the episodes are going to wind up being a little over the map. And nothing in the show I thought was terrible, it's just everything in it is just sort of kind of forgettable. Although I am very invested in the Fitz and Simmons plotline. I really like seeing Simmons deal on a Fitz deal with it. I'm really curious where Simmons' story is going. I'm glad that they showed her in this episode. Like, I love how the mystery isn't whether or not she's going to show up, because we know Simmons is going to show up. Like, you can tell by looking at IMDb, you can tell because she's been in promo photos, so I love that. And I feel like the downside is that mystery is probably going to get dragged out for, like, the first half of the season, and I feel like the second half is going to be what it means. Like, I'll be very surprised if we deal with what happened to Simmons before we get to the halfway point. But yeah, the Fitz-Simmons storyline, which I like seeing Fitz come into his own. Like, I love that whole bit where he goes to Marco. That felt very cinematic to me. And yeah. So Simmons is on another planet. I wonder what that means for the show. Yeah. I mean, that was the only storyline that really stuck out to me. And honestly, I think it's just because I want to see those two get shipped together. I mean, Fitz-Simmons! It's the perfect ship name. So yeah, that's all I have to say. That's like the only thing I care about. And that's honestly why I don't want to do these vlogs. I mean, I don't feel like I have that much to say about them. They are rambly. I only care about and more importantly, there's enough people talking about this show. And I have a busy life in college, so again, I'm just talking about the beginning. I'm going to come back towards the middle and say something just as rambly. And yeah. So, if you enjoyed any of my rambling / fanboying at some point, please comment below and tell me what you think. Like, dislike, subscribe, and this is JStarC60, and I'll see you guys later. Until next time.